Another new singer for Skid Row, but can they find the old magic? We'll find out when we talk with bassist Rachel Bolan next, right here on Chris Akin Presents. It is Chris Akin Presents, and I, of course, am Chris Akin, and I am super, super happy to be chatting with this guy next. I'm happy to be presenting brand new music from the band Skid Row. The gang's all here. It's out on October the 14th, and here to talk all about it is the bassist and the main guy, I'm going to say, of Skid Row, Mr. Rachel Bolan. Rachel, how are you, man?
Hey, dude, I'm doing well. Thanks, man.
Well, dude, got to tell you, I'm going to tell you straight up the real truth, and I'm not going to just say, oh, I love the record, man. It's the greatest thing of all time. You know, I didn't love it at first. I'm going to be honest. I think there was so much expectation into it that it took a few listens to get it.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
If I was writing a review today, I would say like 7.5, 8. So I am digging it. Okay. But it did take me a bit to first time through. And I mean, you know, the comparison, everybody goes to that comparison and it's like, oh, you know, new singer, new guy, you know, and then when it's not exactly that, that's like, all right, well, now let me step back and come into it.
Right.
So let's start there, man, for you. And obviously the biggest change, Erik joining the band, big change for the band. Certainly it seems like it re-energized you guys in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about him coming in, and not necessarily, I mean, I've read all the stories about, you know, you hearing him play and seeing him on the cruise and all that, but talk a little bit about getting to know the guy first, because it seems like that's more from what I've seen that you guys focused on versus, okay, well, this guy sounds like Skid Row, let's plug him in and see what happens.
Yeah, well, all those things you said, we toured together and whatnot, and we heard him from the dressing room, and we just always thought he was really great. And, but we, you know, when I first reached out to him, it was through Instagram. And I said, I saw he did a cover of 18 in Life, and I thought it was fantastic. And then he did Rainbow in the Dark by Dio, you know, Iron Maiden covers. I was like, man, this guy's versatile, right?
Sure.
So at this point, we had the feeling we were going to be making a change. And I was just like, man, this is the dude to get. His vocal range is right where we need it to be. And we didn't know him though. And so I just sent him a text or a direct message, and he got back to me pretty quick. And I said, man, you want to jump on a Zoom? And we did. And within like the first couple minutes of the Zoom, I was just like, wow, this dude, like, you know, I've been doing this a long time. I consider myself a pretty good read of character. And I'm like, wow, this dude is like, he's like balls out, man, like work. He loves to work, and he loves music as much as we do. And he told me his whole story about like getting sick and how he promised himself that if he made it out alive, that he would sing every day for the rest of his life. And that just hit me like a cannonball in the chest. I was like, wow. Sure. And I go, and that's kind of what gave birth to his YouTube channel and all that. And it was a promise he made to himself. And that I was like, man, this guy's character is incredible. And so anyway, I told him about kind of what was going on, and we may need someone to fill in for a few shows. And then Snake and our producer Nick is like, well, why don't you send him some new stuff? Talk to him, see what he wants to do. And his work ethic is it's I can't even say similar to ours. It's exactly the same as ours. And it's just like, here's the job, here's the task. No matter how big, I'm going to get it done and get it done to the best of my ability. And he did. And when we heard the stuff back, we're like, okay, this might not just be filling in for a couple dates. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so then we're like, you know, well, you want to join Skid Row? Snake and I got on the phone with him, and we and we had so many good Zoom conversations, and I'm kind of glad it all exists because he's on the other side of the planet. You know what I mean? He's in
Right.
Sweden outside of Stockholm, and we just gelled right away. And then I said, okay, we want you to meet the rest of the guys, Rob and Scotty. And so all of us got on together, and we were talking and busting balls and all this. And it was just like, he had the same stupid sense of humor that we all do, kind of offbeat and whatnot. And it was like, once we hung up, we're all texting each other. The four of us are texting each other. It's like, is this too good, or what's going on? Like, does he fit in too well?
Right.
And so we were like, nah, he's genuinely a good dude. And then we met the first time we ever all were in the same room together was on a Tuesday. And we were for rehearsals, and we were starting the Scorpions residency on that Saturday.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So we all got to Vegas on a Tuesday. We rehearsed Wednesday and Thursday, took Friday off, and then went straight into that 3-week run of shows. And nothing's changed since then. It's just, we just keep gelling better and better and better. And even though he lives so far from us, we keep in close contact. We're already starting to write stuff for the next record, and we'll send him stuff, and he'll send ideas back, and it's really cool. And he's very talented.
Sure.
And like I said, a very hard worker. And he's the first time we've ever had the first singer we've ever had that has played guitar. So he comes at music from as a musician as well as a singer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's big for us,
Sure.
This far into our career, that's really big for us to have someone else that could contribute a lot.
Sure. How much of the decision was take away? I'm gonna go the other direction now. How much of the decision was him kind of being the Arnel Pineda that you've been looking for 25 years, that can really match when you do the classic songs on stage, as well as bringing his own style and feel to the new material?
Well, yeah, we needed someone that was going to be able to really cover our history and do it well. And we knew that was going to happen when we saw his 18 in Life cover. But we wanted someone that was creative and just had a fresh outlook, and we needed a powerhouse, and he's a powerhouse, man.
Sure. Sure, he certainly is. Now, you mentioned his health, and it seems like he's getting healthy now. It's when he first joined, ain't gonna lie, the first videos I saw, I was like, man, I hope he can make it through because like you guys, like the first videos came online at the same time that you guys announced a really long tour.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I think he was weighing like $105 or something, like on the first gig or two. I was like, man, this guy is going to really struggle to meet this schedule. Did you guys worry at all, when you first met him and saw him, about his health?
Well, we asked him straight up. We're like, will you be able to do this, like, physically? And
Right.
He's like, not a problem. He's like, I'm so skinny now. He knew he was that skinny,
Sure.
He was well aware that he was that thin, but he, he's like, I just can't wait to start getting back into martial arts and start boxing again so that he could build muscle mass. Because a bone marrow transplant I never really knew what it was. And he explained the whole thing to me and what it does to your body and what you go through, rebuilding an immune system and whatnot. And he, when he explained it to me, I was like, wow, no wonder you're so friggin' skinny, but,
Right.
And, but you watch that dude eat, he's going to have that weight right back on him. I know he's back in boxing and
Okay.
Back in Sweden. He's back with his trainer and in martial arts and boxing. So he's getting back to where he wants to be.
Sure. And from the videos that I've seen, again, I haven't seen him live. I've seen him live with Heat, but I've not seen him, with you guys yet. It seems like he brings kind of that 1988 energy that you guys had, at the very, very beginning when I first saw you with like Bon Jovi or whatever. He really brings that running crazy and I know some of the videos I'm watching, and I'm watching you guys kind of looking at them and going, damn, dude, slow down.
Yeah, you're showing us up. Yeah, no, it's funny. We were in between songs, and Scotty and I went back behind the amps, and he's like, man, he's entertaining. He's like, I never watched one of our singers before. That kid's entertaining. And it's cool because it raised the bar for us. You know, I mean, there's quite a difference in age. He's 34. I'm the oldest in the Scotty and I. Well, three of us are 58, but I'm oldest by a few months. And you know, so it's just one of those things that raised the bar for us. It's like, okay, well, we gotta start moving again. It's great though. It's like
Sure.
a shot of adrenaline for us, and I love it. And I just love being able to better myself. And if bettering myself means bettering the band, that's the icing on the cake.
Right on. Well, I'll tell you what, Rachel, why don't we take a break here and give people a taste of some of the brand new music from Skid Row. The Gang's All Here. It's out on October the 14th. We'll play a little bit of the video from Tear It Down. What can you tell me about this video shoot?
It was cool, man. We went back to Jersey, you know, being most of us Jersey guys, all from the Northeast pretty much, except for Erik. But we went into, I believe it was Passaic, New Jersey, and they were tearing down this old funeral home. And it was like, tear it down, tear it down. Not really the topic of the song, but, you know, it's cool. Right. And we just did it out on the streets in Jersey, and they had roads blocked off and crowds were gathering. And it was really cool. And here's the coolest thing about that video shoot is the song is just about tearing down barriers,
Sure.
whether it's the color of our skin or whatever it is, just tearing down barriers and unifying and becoming one again, and or not again, but just becoming one and coexisting with each other, which isn't a hard thing, but it seems to be people make it difficult these days. And as we're doing that, as we're playing, and this building is fine, whatever. The building's getting torn down. The name of the song's Tear It Down. But as people are gathering on the streets, I'm seeing people of all different races watching the band, bopping their head. And I was like, this is why we do this. And people, strangers on the street, just come up talking to each other. And well, you know, hands in the air of every ethnic background that I could imagine growing up in Jersey, because that's how it was, you know, like it wasn't, we were a mixed bag, man. In my neighborhood, we were a mixed bag. And I'm looking at that. We're all looking at it. I go, isn't that funny? That's what this song is about. And that's what's happening right before our eyes. It was the coolest moment, man. The coolest moment.
Very cool. Well, let's share some of that cool moment right now. This is Tear It Down. This is brand new from Skid Row right here on CHRIS Akin Presents. That was Tear It Down, brand new music from Skid Row, from The Gang's All Here, which is once again out on October the 14th. And we're talking with Rachel Bolan about the new record. And Rachel, I was reading in the press, so we'll take that for whatever that means. But I was reading that working with Nick, who you've worked with previously, I believe, right? Have you not worked with him?
No, this is the first time. Yeah,
Okay.
this is the first time.
Well, I read that what he brought was that he helped you refocus. You felt refocused you musically. Did you feel like you lost some focus with Thick Skin or RPM or the EPs that you needed to be refocused? Or
no, not at the time because we were in the middle of it. But here's the most important thing, other than being the insanely great producer that he is he was a fan before he was a producer. So
sure,
he was like, man, I love the stuff you guys did. I really do. He goes, but each record sounded like you got further and further away from where you started. And as we could all attest to, is that we remember, like, if they're like, when I first heard Rock and Roll Over, I'll never forget where I was, how that album changed my life, how I felt, and just the effect that it had on me.
Right.
I'm sure the guys in KISS don't feel the same way because they're in KISS and they made the record. So not comparing us to KISS by any means, but it's like, okay, so our first couple records had an effect on people, and Nick being one of them. They remember that feeling that they had. They'll remember it for the rest of their lives. And so he brought us back to that spot, and we had to keep trying stuff. And he's like, he said to us, it still sticks in my head, you guys sound like you're afraid to be Skid Row.
No.
And we're like, what the hell does that mean? And then it all just started clicking, and we started just doing stuff. We, you know, when you're around for a long time, it seems like you just want to keep trying new things. And maybe it's the old things that you should keep trying, or just keep, you know, improving on, instead of just trying new stuff. And he brought us back to where we were when we were doing the first two albums, you know, and mentally. And that's when stuff really started coming together. And the dude is a creative force who's just like, here, try this, try that. And like, his honesty, although sometimes brutal, was so welcomed. And because he's an old school producer, you know, you bring him an idea, that sucks, love that, maybe a little bit of that one here and there, and just let's do this, rewrite these lyrics, they're cheesy, you know, the whole deal. And it was awesome. And it really made us work hard, because we wanted to make sure that he liked it from his standpoint, and we wanted to make sure that it lit the five of us up. Well, at the time it was the four of us when we were in pre-production, lit us up, because Tom Hamilton from Aerosmith gave me the best advice so many years ago. And he said, he goes, when you write a song, that song has to get you off first before it's going to get anyone else. Right. And it's so true. It's so true that it had, and meaning the band. Right. So if it lights all five guys up, cool, let's move forward with it. And that's what Nick brought as a producer. Just like, okay, let's push it. And he would push and push sometimes that it'd be like, I don't see what's wrong with that bass line. It's like, he'd just say stuff like, I do. He'd go, I do. Right. It's like he goes, and he would challenge us. And that's really important, because, you know, you're 70% producer and 30% psychologist. You know what I mean? Sure. So, and he got us to that point.
Right. And he certainly did. I mean, if you listen, obviously the two singles that you've released so far to people, they definitely have the classic sound, as does Hell or High Water. I mean, you guys make it known immediately as soon as that song hits, like bang, you're back in 1990. Right, you know, I mean, that one, or you know, Time Bomb's another one that definitely sounds old school. And then there's the very last track, which is probably my favorite on the record, World on Fire, which is probably the most openly newsy / political. It's not necessarily political, but it's kind of like an overview of what's going on today. And I think it has the greatest lyric that you guys have ever put on any of your records. With
wow.
Radio silence should be words to live by. That could not be more true. of anything you guys have ever said musically. So talk a little bit about that one and why you guys were so willing to. That is probably the biggest change up I see, is that it's the first time I ever remember listening to a Skid Row song and thinking about it as, wow, is that completely today's political spectrum that we're kind of stuck in?
Yeah, it's like you said, it's not so much political as it is just a standing back and looking at things. And it's like, you know, maybe everyone in the world shouldn't voice their opinion.
Amen. Amen.
You know what I mean? Maybe it's not important that with all the shit that's going on, maybe you flapping your mouth is making shit worse. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so that's kind of, you know, that's where the lyrics just came out of. And that was a song that we wrote in, that was like the last song that we wrote, I believe. And that was during rehearsals, or we went back into pre-production because Nick is like, you guys need more songs. So we went back in and we wrote Not Dead Yet and World on Fire. And it was just, Snake had a riff. He's like, here's a bunch of here's what I have. And then Nick kind of, you know, pulled it apart, rearranged it, and then I started writing lyrics, and both had some melody ideas. And those were it was just feelings. And although, you know, it was last minute, the more I listened to it, I'm like, I didn't realize it was we were making such a statement when we were writing the song. And, you know, that was truly where our head was at as we were writing those lyrics. It's just like, man, it's just like, let's just stop this shit. You know what I mean? Let's just stop. Just shut up a second. Like my mom, the old saying, stop and smell the roses, you know, my mom would always say that when she saw that I was going, you're working too hard. You know, I'd get off tour and then just work at home and then get back on tour. She's like, you gotta just chill and just stop and smell the roses and just enjoy life a little bit. And and my dad was a big he was he'd always be like, if you talk too much, sooner or later you're gonna say stupid shit, you know. So just like, say what you gotta say, and then you're done. You're done. You know, you don't have to keep talking just to hear your own voice. And I feel completely the same when people start going on about stuff, whatever the topic is. I'm like, oh my God, I wish they'd shut up.
No matter how much you say, you eventually sound stupid. That's what my dad used to say to me.
Yeah, exactly. My dad would always say too, when you run out of things to talk about, or when you're at a party and you start talking about the weather, you've run out of things to talk about. So go home. You know?
Exactly. Well, Rachel, the last song I wanted to ask you about here is probably the oddball on the record, just because it's really long, and B, it's the only one that really threw me back to like Thick Skin era, and that's October's song. Mm-hmm. Very different for you guys, or at least for the rest of this record, I guess it's very different. What went into you guys' decision to write such a long song? I don't think you guys have ever written anything this long.
No, we haven't.
And B, something that just feels kind of, somebody must have had a passion for this one, I'm guessing, because it does feel different from everything else on the record.
Yeah, it's funny, we shortened it by about 30 seconds.
Jeez.
Yeah, there was a bigger musical break. But yeah, it's the main riff is a guitar riff that Snake has had for, man, I don't even know. I think he might have come up with it on the Slave tour and would just always play it. And it just kind of went away. And one day he was at my house when we were writing, and we weren't even in the same room, and I just heard it and I was like, wow. And I walked upstairs and I go, I remember that riff. I go, why don't we work with that? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. He goes, I would really like to find a home for this riff. Okay. So we did, and it just started falling together. And then the title of it was actually just a working title because we started writing it in October.
Okay.
Of like 2016, I think. And so it was either 16 or 17. I don't know. It was a while ago. But so we started messing with it. And it just became lyrically about loss, and verse 2 was about losing my dad, and just kind of how important. And he was born in October, and so the working title stuck, and
Right.
it just kind of made sense because my dad was only my dad. He was Scotty's dad, and he was Snake's dad. So we all had all the guys had a great relationship with my pop. So he it just became one of those songs that it became important to all of us. You know what I mean? And it was different, and we're like, what do we have to lose? Let's make a long song. Let's record a long song. And like I said, it was about 25 to 30 seconds longer than it is now. And Nick is like, he's like, yeah, let's shorten this part a little bit. And we didn't change it. I think we changed the key of it, if I'm not mistaken. But other than that, it's pretty much how we wrote it. And yeah, I think it has a really cool vibe. It has like a Quicksand Jesus sort of vibe to it, which is one of my favorite Skid Row songs, and that we do. And that song took a long time to write, like this song did. And so it just seemed important to us. And it's funny because I just did an interview at Germany right before this, and that was his favorite song. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, it's definitely a cool song, man. And there's many, many, many cool songs on this new release. It's called The Gang's All Here. Skid Row obviously is going to be out on tour. People can keep up with you guys where? SkidRow.com, best place, or?
Yep, SkidRow.com, or our Instagram at official Skid Row. But .com is the website, has everything there.
All right, so everybody should go to skidrow.com and make sure that you buy, don't just stream it, don't be lame, buy the new release, The Gang's All Here, October the 14th, from Skid Row. And Rachel, we're going to wrap this one up with playing The Gang's All Here, since that's the first thing you dropped on us. So to wrap it up, why don't you tell us a little quick story about this video or about the song and why you decided to give this to the people first?
Well, it just seemed to make sense. It was the album title, and you know, after all this time, it finally felt like what the title is. The Gang's All Here, you know, let's go do this. And we wrote this song with our friend Paul Taylor. And it's just, to me, if there was any song on this record that defines Skid Row, it's this song here, my opinion. And we're psyched about it. And we just can't wait till this album comes out so everyone could hear it.
Amen. Well, one more time, it is The Gang's All Here. It is Skid Row, out on October the 14th. And let's check it out. It's the brand new video, The Gang's All Here from Skid Row, right here on CHRIS AKIN Presents. Thanks, man.
Right on.